Hi guys, my name is Isa. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about surrendering and trusting. Let's get started. For the past few days, I have been navigating the idea of impermanence, having temporary things in our lives as well as being temporary in other people's lives. I didn't learn anything that I didn't already know. I think I just saw it from a different perspective, or right now I'm just more willing to accept the fact that the more you want things to stay the same and be permanent, the more suffering you'll experience. So with the last guy that I talked with, which hopefully this is the last video I make about this because I feel like I keep yapping about this person. Can you tell it's my most recent trigger? I even got to a point where I thought I'm actually very thankful of like him coming into my life just because I've made a number of episodes because of that experience, but that's not thanks to him. If I wasn't that self-inquisitive or that curious about my feelings, where they come from, what do they mean, we wouldn't have those videos. So it's not thanks to him. But I was reflecting on the whole experience and I realized I experienced anxiety in a whole different level that I haven't experienced before, because in my past experiences I would often feel anxious whenever I didn't get a text from this person. You know, the typical anxious attachment behavior you see online: urgency to receive text, looking for reassurance, feeling like you need this person to be safe. I've experienced that left and right, but with this specific guy, it was different. I actually felt terrified of getting hurt, to the point where I just wanted him to text me telling me everything is over just so that I could finally breathe. So I wasn't, oh, I need him to text me, I need us to be okay. I was like, can he just tell me that we're done? That's it. I just want him to be done with me. Like, I just want him to tell me that this is done so that I can stop thinking about this. Right now, I'm not talking to anyone. I don't really feel stressed about the idea of getting hurt because I don't really think that's anytime soon. If I was talking with someone and I started liking this person and I realized, oh, the more I like this person, the more it's going to hurt, that's when I would start being anxious because that's what's triggering me, the possibility of getting hurt. And I find it so weird because this person didn't hurt me, but I spent a good amount of time being anxious and anticipating that he would. There was this one specific time where I clocked out of my shift and I decided to walk home and I was just crying. And I was praying, like I was in a conversation with God, and I was angry at God. I was like, I told you. I was so shameless in that moment. Like, what do you mean I'm angry at God? And I'm like, I don't even know what's the word in English. But in Spanish, it's reclamándole. Le estaba reclamando a Dios. Anyway, so I go like, I told you to remove this person if they weren't for me. Why are they still here? Like, I know they want to hurt me. Like, why are you letting this happen? I thought you were supposed to protect me. Like, I just felt so scared to the point where I just wanted to lash out on everyone and couldn't see straight because I didn't feel safe. I felt like I needed to protect myself, and I just didn't understand why God hadn't removed him from my life if I was so sure that he would hurt me. Just like a parentheses on that idea of asking God to please remove someone from your life. Yes, that prayer is powerful as any other prayer. Any prayer you make to God is powerful. The thing is, sometimes God will not remove this person immediately. Sometimes it will be maybe a few days or a few weeks after you made that prayer. Or sometimes he won't even be the one who removes that person from you, but rather he reveals to you why this person isn't for you and gives you enough courage and enough strength for you to be the one who walks away. But that is not something people often talk about. In my crying, I remember I told God, I don't want to date. If this is what a romantic connection means, I don't want to be in any romantic connection. I don't want to date anybody. Like, I would rather be single. I think maybe that's how avoidant thinking starts, which is crazy because I've been anxious my whole life. What do you mean? I'm like, it's actually worth never dating anybody as long as I'm not triggered. I've never gotten to that point because I feel like with anxious attachment, it's like you would rather be triggered as long as you're with someone, compared to avoidant, which is you would rather be alone than to be triggered. And that is one of the reasons why I made this journal entry and why I'm recording this video, because I feel so detached not only from my connection with this person, but also all of that emotional roller coaster that I experienced when I was talking with him. And I also feel so detached from whatever I'm going to experience in the future that I think right now is a good time for me to think of, how am I going to feel the next time I talk with someone? It is only when I'm so afraid of being hurt or I'm currently getting hurt by someone where I feel like this is it, this always happens, I'm never able to open up my heart to anybody, no one ever takes it seriously, you know. Right now, as attached as I can be, I know that I will talk to someone new eventually. I know that I will have another boyfriend, I will have another romantic experience that's gonna make me smile, it's gonna make me laugh, it's gonna make me be so thankful to God over the things that didn't work out, because that is just so good. It would be such a misconception if I'm here and I think I was so anxious my past experience, I'm not gonna be anxious in my next one. I'm just going to immediately know he's the one for me, and I'm going to immediately be anxiety free and just enjoy my experience with this guy. And I think that idea of this person is for me is what causes me the most anxiety. If I feel like there's one specific person for me, I'm gonna be anxious with whoever I talk with, because what if I make the wrong decision? What if I think he is the person for me when he's not the person for me? Or what if I think, no, this can't be the guy for me, when this is exactly who God has for me? Thinking there's one specific person for me is just so anxiety inducing. I don't want to think about that right now. And the problem with dating someone and immediately thinking this is a person for me is that you skip so many things. You skip them earning your trust, you skip falling in love with them. If you've been waiting for a relationship, you just have so much love within you and you're just so excited to be in a relationship. You just immediately shower this person with love, but that's like just a love in general that you have within you to give, and not specific love that you built for this person, if that makes sense. So I personally don't want to go into a relationship with that mindset, and even if I could convince myself, oh, this is a person for me, I feel like I would still experience anxiety. And it's not because this specific person is causing me anxiety, it's because I have a wound. I've been hurt in the past by my parents, by my friends, by the guys that I've been interested in. Someone hurting me right now doesn't sound so insane. Someone lying to me doesn't sound so unrealistic. Someone talking to me and then ghosting me, been there, done that. So I want to be able to kind of like prep myself for all of the triggers that I will most likely experience the next time I talk with someone, whether that ends in a relationship or not. Now, why does this remind me to the idea of impermanence and suffering? So when things are impermanent, we suffer when we want them to be permanent. I think in this specific concept of being in a relationship and anticipating getting hurt is, this person is going to hurt me and I don't want to be hurt. I'm so scared of getting hurt. I literally ask myself, what's so bad about getting hurt? Like, what's so bad about crying? I don't get it. Right now, I'm so emotionally detached from it that I don't understand why it's so bad that I want to avoid it. But then I remember when I was crying, not about this guy, but about the anticipation of he will hurt me and I will just have an awful experience once again. I remember I was crying and I felt so much despair. Like, I truly felt it wasn't gonna be any better. Like, that was it. That moment where I was just crying, that was my life. And I don't know if this is because I've been hurt in the past. I don't know if this is because I just happen to be very emotional. The best way that I can explain it is that in those moments where I feel so much loss and so much fear and anxiety, I'm too focused on how I feel and not on a general idea of what's happening. So just to give you an example, it's like this, literally like this. You guys are crying and you can only see that. But then when you stop crying and you are able to release everything that you needed to release and just able to not feel all of that despair anymore, it goes from this to this. Like, you're able to see the whole picture. So now it doesn't seem so overwhelming. It doesn't feel so overwhelming. When I'm done crying, I just go like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And I feel like I was exaggerating. I feel like, why did I make such a big deal about going through that when I just feel fine now that I'm done crying? I think in that moment when you're crying and you're grieving, your mind presents you with so many beliefs that are scary to accept or admit or even entertain, that it truly feels terrifying. Because the thing is, your thoughts impact your emotions and your emotions impact your thoughts. So for example, oh, I'm thinking about the breakup, I feel sad. I feel sad. I think about things that make me feel sad, like the breakup. So you kind of just go on that cycle where your thoughts are feeding off from your feelings and your feelings are feeding off from your thoughts. So when we are in a posture of, I'm afraid of getting hurt, I'm afraid of going through a heartbreak and crying. For most people, it could be, I'm afraid of sadness. But if sadness is a moment where you start thinking, sadness means that I will always be alone. Like, sadness is a confirmation that I will be alone. And not only is thinking I'm always going to be alone scary, but beyond that, you also think I'm not going to be okay. It is more terrifying than just an emotional state, because now you have to contemplate the idea of, I'm going to be alone and I'm going to be unprotected. No one's going to want me. That's going to mean number of negative things about me. And that's why when you're experiencing so much pain, it literally feels like the end of the world, because in that moment you're contemplating all of the ideas that hurt you. For example, I've seen past friends go through breakups and think, I'm never gonna find the love of my life, nobody loves me, I'm gonna die alone. This one specific person I know, that they would always talk about how lonely they were and how nobody wanted them and how they would die alone. They now have a boyfriend and they've been dating for over a year. That idea of, I feel so upset and everything just feels so permanent and so terrifying, super valid, and I understand why we try to avoid it. I don't think it's such a crazy concept. A lot of people run away from concepts they cannot even comprehend. So for example, a lot of people who drink or who abuse substances or sometimes even food, they cannot entertain the thought, what if I'm not good enough? Because if they entertain it, maybe they would conclude that they're not good enough. If that's the truth, what are they gonna do about it? It feels unbearable. So I ask myself, what was I thinking or what was I feeling when I was going through that despair, when I was crying in this whole experience? And it's so weird because I'm writing things that I personally don't resonate with right now, but it does make sense for that version of me who's been hurt in the past and who's currently crying to resonate with. So I wrote, I was afraid that meant or it indicated that I would never experience the love that I yearn for. It hurt to think that I know the ending all too well already. I hate the thought of, oh, it's happening again. Feeling like I can't have what I want, like I'll never have what I want. You know, I could think of more. If I were to be crying because of that right now, I'm sure I could give you more ideas of what's going on in my mind. But basically, everything I'm thinking are the conclusions that our mind often makes when we feel triggered. It's like we're forced to face that reality. And one of the reasons why it's overwhelming, it's because what if that's true? What if I actually entertain the idea that I will never experience the love that I yearn for, and it's actually true? Well, what do I do about it? There's nothing I can do about it, and that just gives me a sensation of loss of control, which our happiness and our satisfaction in life is directly related to our sense of control. So if you feel like you have no control over your life, you're gonna feel so anxious. If you feel like you can control your life, obviously not every single aspect of your life, but you can control your expectations, your thoughts, how you carry yourself, that's gonna give you a bigger sense of confidence because you trust yourself. When you think the worst case scenario is actually true, we feel a sense of loss of control, which, I mean, who can blame you? Like, honestly, I feel afraid of living a life I don't want to live. I'm afraid of living a life I don't enjoy. Guys, I am done being anxious. I feel like I've mastered detachment in different areas of my life. I've mastered detachment with my finances, with my job, with my health, with my friends, but specifically with relationships. I found it really hard to not be afraid and not feel anxious. And I'm done. I am done. I feel like being anxious is just constantly being on my mind and overthinking everything and reading too much into everything and analyzing what someone said, but what they truly meant or what they didn't say and what they meant to say. Like, I'm so tired of that. And that is one of the reasons why I'm no longer at the restaurant. That is one of the reasons why I'm no longer at the restaurant, because what do you mean you're telling me something? You're telling me that you're interested in me. Next thing I know, you're no longer talking to me. You're not a man of your word. You're not a man of your word. And I cannot respect that. I cannot like or wait for someone who's not a man of their word. I can't. I just hate it when people don't communicate, because I feel like they give you that responsibility of reading between the lines and making assumptions and concluding on your own that they don't want to be with you. Like, just tell me. I would prefer someone telling me straight to my face, listen, I'm not interested because of this, and no lying, because a lot of people do that where they tell you like, oh, I'm not interested because I don't know, something came up, or I'm not in the right stage of my life, when in reality it's I don't want to date you. I just so much appreciate communication. I think that just became a nick for me after this experience. If you tell me that you want something with me but then behave entirely different, that's gonna give me the ick. I have the ick. I'm icked out to the point where I don't even want to be anxious about anybody ever again, because I'm gonna look at both your words and your actions, and if they don't align, I'm icked out and I'm no longer interested. And if that advice was to like just help everybody who watches this video, this is where I would end the video, but it's not, because not everyone can be icked out. If you're staying with someone or you're like extremely anxious about something or someone, is not because you just happen to like this person and that's enough for you to be anxious, but because you're looking after yourself. I've talked about this before. Anxiety is like a warning system. So if there's anything that seems dangerous to our well-being, oops, we get anxious. In order for us to be able to just strip out all of the anxiety and not feel that urgency of, I need to know where this is coming from, I need to know what they mean, I need to know if they're gonna come back, I need to know if they're gonna leave, you have to understand why we have that anxiety. So when I told myself, I don't want to be anxious anymore, I don't want to be overwhelmed, I don't want to read too much into things, I felt scared, because I was like, if I'm not over analyzing everything and if I'm not anticipating someone hurting me, it's gonna make it 10 times easier for them to hurt me. I've noticed this before in my life in different areas, and I think it's worth to mention. I used to have a very difficult relationship with my body, my weight, food, exercise, and I grew up with this urgency of losing weight. The worst thing that I could do, it wasn't killing someone, it wasn't cheating, it wasn't whatever, it was literally gaining weight. That was the worst thing that I could ever do, gain weight. So when I started my healing journey and I started working on my self-concept, I started telling myself, I don't need to lose weight. I no longer need that urgency to lose weight. And I felt so afraid of letting it go, because I genuinely felt like if I wasn't actively and intentionally looking to lose weight, I would gain so much weight. The one thing that was keeping me from gaining weight was obsessing over weight loss. And it's the same here. We think the main thing that's keeping us from getting hurt is anticipating every lie, anticipating every cheating, or anticipating every breakup. And that's not the case. It's not like I will stop being anxious about someone and I will just immediately become this naive girl who they're gonna lie to and is going to believe everything they say. Like, that's not gonna happen. That's not how it works. You know, that anticipation isn't what makes me smart, isn't what allows me to detect if someone is lying. Because most of the time you're gonna detect lies even when someone is being genuine. You're gonna detect someone leaving even if they don't plan to leave. You have to understand that even without anticipating something, you're still gonna have your judgment, you're still gonna have critical thinking skills. And if you don't have a strong enough judgment or critical thinking, maybe you shouldn't be dating. Just because I'm not anticipating this person to be the worst person in the whole world doesn't mean that I will miss the red flags, or I won't notice where something isn't aligned with what I want. Just to make it so simple, I want someone who has romantic gestures with me. And I'm not anticipating if this person is a bad person or not, or if they want to hurt me or not. But I'm dating this person, or I'm getting to know this person, and I notice that they don't have romantic gestures with me. I communicate that I want that in my relationship, and they kind of downplay it. They kind of tell me like, oh, well, I'm not that kind of person, I express myself differently. You know, just them not making the effort of doing those romantic gestures already tells me that we're not aligned. I don't need to be anticipating the worst version of that person for me to realize, oh, this person isn't aligned with me. And I'm not gonna dive into red flags or how to not settle in a relationship, because I already have episodes on that. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to check them out. But what I'm basically saying is the opposite of being afraid isn't being naive, it's actually trusting yourself. So if you allow yourself to carry yourself without fear in your next relationship, you would actually end up carrying yourself with self-trust. Because the truth is, you're not gonna know everything, and that's okay, because you're not supposed to know everything. You're not. And I've noticed that I've struggled with this in the past, because every time something doesn't work out, I tend to self-blame. I tend to tell myself that I should have known, but it's like, this guy was literally telling me that they wanted a relationship with me, and he was being very consistent. So it really caught me by surprise when we stopped talking. How could I have thought, oh, he doesn't want a relationship with me, if he's literally telling me the opposite and he's showing me the opposite? You cannot go around anticipating everything. It is only reasonable for you to question things when you have a reason to question things. I may not be afraid, but I will trust that I will spot something that isn't aligned with what I'm looking for, if it happens to exist. I will spot any red flags as they arise and I will leave accordingly. Because I feel like what makes fear bigger is the idea that there's going to be an issue and we are not able to fix it. There's a theory about this. I think it's cognitive appraisal theory, which basically talks about how our reaction to something is based on what we think it means about us and if we have any resources to deal with it. So for example, if I feel like a heartbreak is going to destroy me and I'm never going to recover and I'll just die because of how sad I am, I will be terrified of getting my heart broken. But if I see it more as, oh, it's going to hurt, but I'm gonna eat ice cream with my friends and I'm going to sit with my feelings and I'm going to feel better eventually and I'm gonna date someone else after that. The idea of getting a heartbreak isn't as terrifying anymore because you have a better idea of how you're gonna handle it. You know that you have the resources, you know that you can ask for help, you know that it won't damage your life or what's meant for you in the future because you know, oh, I will find love again. I guess ask yourself why you're so afraid. I'm so afraid of talking with someone and it not working out because what if it never works out with someone? Honestly, I don't think we have enough evidence to conclude that it will never work out with anyone. There's so many more people you're gonna meet, so many more people you're gonna talk to. Just because the past experiences didn't work out doesn't mean that one in the future won't work out. So it's just kind of like telling yourself it's actually not as scary as it sounds. Even if I get hurt, I will be okay because God is close to those who are brokenhearted. My friends are gonna be there with me. I'm gonna learn how to be there for myself. I'm afraid of giving my heart to someone because what if they leave? Well, if they leave, it's not going to be the end of the world. Will it hurt? Yes, but that's the risk of every relationship. That's the risk of every friendship. And even if they don't leave, they could die. Not to be morbid or anything, but nothing lasts forever. So that could either stop you from experiencing a beautiful connection with someone, or you can just accept that maybe it will come to an end, but you can enjoy it meanwhile. For that one specific, I remember with my ex-best friend, I was so heartbroken and like so confused when we stopped being friends. And I remember I asked God, why? If you knew it was gonna end like this, and you knew I was gonna feel like this, and you knew I would be betrayed this way, why did you even let me get close to that person? Like, I feel like it was such a waste. And then I just immediately stopped and I reflected on how much love I ended up experiencing with this person before our friendship came to an end. All of those happy memories we had and all of that growth that we both had with each other and all of that trust that we built. At the end of the day, it was such a beautiful connection to the point where in different moments of our friendship, I thanked God for our friendship. And I was like, I actually really enjoyed the friendship. I don't love that it ended. I don't love how I'm feeling right now, but I really enjoyed the friendship. Fast forward, I have a new best friend, I have a new group of friends, and I feel so much love for them. Will any of these friendships come to an end? I don't know. Potentially. But that's okay because I'm enjoying them right now. Anyway, going back to my reflection, I will feel anxious the next time I talk with someone, but feeling anxious is just my wound getting triggered and I will just have to regulate myself. And I have to be ready for that. Getting anxious, it's not an indication that I shouldn't date this person unless they're giving me enough reasons to be anxious. Like, is my anxiety coming from their inconsistency or is it coming from my wound? Those are two different things, which you need to see their actions and not excuse their behavior, but rather see their actions for face value before you are able to decide, does it come from inconsistency or from my wound? Being triggered, feeling anxious will feel uncomfortable. One time my sister made this prayer. I thought it was beautiful. She was feeling anxious and she told God, please process this emotion with me. Chef's kiss. I think God would be very happy if we get into the habit of asking him to process things with us. I feel like I will also have the tendency of anticipating a specific scenario. And something about anticipation is that when we anticipate it, we actually experience it before it actually happens because your mind cannot really differentiate imagination from reality. So when you're anticipating cheating, you're actually emotionally and mentally going through cheating even if your partner isn't actually cheating. You have to catch yourself when you're anticipating it and kind of be like, no, that's actually not happening right now. I have no evidence right now that that is happening. So there's no need for me to think about it right now. I will be scared of getting hurt. And I thought something very interesting about writing this. I literally wrote, I feel like that sentence just lets me know how irreparable I think getting hurt is. I think getting hurt is the end of the world, which is not. I've been hurt so many times. I've been hurt to the point where I wake up at 3 a.m. to exercise because I don't know what to do with my pain. Or I wake up at 3 a.m. literally crying. I don't wake up to cry, I wake up already crying because of how awful I feel. I spend my days anxious thinking about it. I spend my days confused, disappointed, grieving. It hurts to be hurt. I truly believe the journey of letting go is simply teaching your nervous system that it's safe. I think our environment changed, or I guess my environment changed. My nervous system just has to update and be like, oh, okay, this is where we're at now. So letting go of that fear and that anxiety of getting hurt is just trusting. I feel like that's still very ambiguous advice. That's not very clear. Because then it's like, how do you trust, right? Give yourself evidence that you're trustworthy. Give yourself evidence that you're going to be there every time you cry. You're going to ask for help whenever you need help. You're going to rely on your support system whenever you need a support system. You are going to walk away whenever you see a red flag. You will be honest with yourself if you know that staying means settling. You have to actually do those things instead of just getting anxious. Because that's the thing. When you get anxious, you don't really do anything. You just think. And it gives you the sensation that you're doing stuff, but you're actually not. So when you actually get that, you have to intentionally think differently. You have to do things differently. You have to walk away. You have to regulate yourself. You have to step back. And all of those actions are going to build up and are going to show you, hey, I can actually trust myself. And if you're like, no, but I haven't had enough experiences where I'm able to be there for myself, that means that I cannot trust myself. That means that you can start building trust. It doesn't have to be so pessimistic. Okay, you haven't done that, then you can do it now. You can build trust with yourself now. And I don't want you to be afraid. Literally, next time you talk with someone and you feel triggered, I want you to use that moment in your life to heal. Every moment you get triggered is an opportunity for you to regulate yourself. Every moment you feel like anticipating every possible scenario, it's a moment where you can come back to yourself and remind yourself, I don't need to know everything to be safe. Every time you're afraid of getting hurt is an opportunity for you to tell yourself, I don't know if I'm going to be hurt, but if I end up being hurt, I will be there for myself and I'm going to be okay. All of those moments where you feel anxious are opportunities for you to be there for yourself. And when you use those opportunities to actually be there for yourself instead of entertaining anxiety, that's how you're going to build trust. And when you build that trust, you're going to be able to let go of anxiety and let go of fear, because the opposite of fear is trusting. And if trusting yourself feels like not the best option, trust in God. Trust that God will reveal if this person is not meant for you. Trust that God will give you the discernment to listen to his words. Trust that God will hold your hand if you feel hurt or if you're grieving the loss of someone. Trust that the joy you will feel tomorrow is 10 times more than the pain that you're feeling right now. And I'm not saying like, oh, if you don't trust yourself, trust God. But if you trust yourself, don't trust God. I feel like I'm able to trust myself because I trust God. God created us in his image. Like, he gave us an extraordinary mind. He gave us a self-concept. He gave us a bright future. And he gives us the tools and the resources for us to trust in him and trust in ourselves, especially if we're rooted in him. So basically, I will trust God and I will trust myself. And when I get anxious, I'm gonna regulate. When I start anticipating things that haven't happened, I'm gonna remind myself that I don't need to know everything and I don't need to guess how everything is going to play out for me to be safe. When I feel scared of getting hurt, I'm gonna remind myself that I've been hurt in the past and that I've thrived. When I am crying and I feel despair, I'm gonna remind myself emotions are temporary and that too is going to pass. I am safe to experience life. I am safe to experience love, even if I get triggered. And I don't know if people talk much about that, but that is what healing is. Healing is not you magically being unbothered, but you coming back to yourself faster, you coming back to God faster, you being able to regulate yourself whenever you're triggered, being able to ground yourself whenever you feel overwhelmed. That's what healing does for you. It tells you, hey, we don't have to sit with that anxiety and let it grow. We can actually do this and do that and do all of these different things. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my pink hair. If you resonated with anything that I shared, I'm glad that I'm not alone in this, and I hope that you feel seen. If you liked it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, check out my nails.